A Pakistani TikToker with more than 1 million followers is shot dead in broad daylight, riding in a car with her younger sister and older brother. Her father tells police he already knows who did it. He hands over 3 names. 8 days later, police make an arrest. 5 people, all relatives, and one of them is the father who gave them those names in the first place. This is the case of Ayesha Gilamana. Her real name was Shamsu Bibi, but to more than 1 million people online, she was somebody else entirely, Ayesha Gilamana. Ayesha was 28 years old, from Lower Dir, a district in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa in northwestern Pakistan. She started posting on TikTok around 3 to 4 years before her death. In the beginning, there was nothing elaborate about it. She talked to the camera, she posted short entertainment clips, she went live, she documented pieces of her everyday life. Slowly, people started watching. By 2026, Ayesha's TikTok account had grown to over 1.3 million followers. Her videos had collected somewhere between 30 and 35 million likes combined. She wasn't only on TikTok, Ayesha also built a sizable audience on YouTube, around 176,000 subscribers, mostly drawn from clips of her live streams and older videos. Within a few years, Ayesha Gilamana had become far more recognizable than the name on her birth certificate. Her rise happened inside an environment where female content creators in Pakistan sometimes face real danger simply for putting themselves online. A country where women have been killed for something as small as posting a video. Ayesha kept posting anyway, she kept going live, she kept showing up on millions of phone screens. At some point, her family relocated from Lower Dir to the Taxila area, and by 2026, they had been living there for some time. From the outside, Ayesha still looked like exactly what she appeared to be, a 28-year-old with over 1 million followers, building a career online. Nobody watching knew that her name was about to appear in headlines for a completely different reason. August 14th, 2026, a Friday, Pakistan's Independence Day. That afternoon, Ayesha was at home. For the Sahibzada family, it had been an ordinary day. Until Ayesha's phone rang. Shortly after the call ended, Ayesha got ready to leave the house. She wasn't going alone. With her were her 15-year-old sister, Asima, and her brother, Naimatullah. The 3 of them got into a car and drove away from the house. That evening, somewhere between 4:40 and 5 p.m., a serious crash was reported in the Taxila area. A car traveling near GT Road lost control and slammed into a dumper truck. Police arrived to handle what looked, at first glance, like a routine road accident, but almost immediately, investigators realized this wasn't a routine accident at all. 3 people were in the car. A young woman had been shot in the neck. She didn't survive. A 15-year-old girl was seriously injured in the crash itself and was rushed to Islamabad for treatment. An adult man in the car survived. Their identities were confirmed quickly. The 15-year-old was Asima, the surviving man was her brother, Naimatullah, and the young woman who had died was their sister, Shamsu Bibi, known online to over 1 million people as Ayesha Gilamana. Word reached her father, Fazal Sahibzada. He went straight to THQ Hospital Taxila, where he was taken into the mortuary and identified his daughter's body. Hours earlier, Ayesha had walked out of her house with her brother and sister. Now, she was dead, and the first question police needed answered was simple: what happened in the minutes before the crash? The most important account came from Naimatullah, who had survived the crash and was conscious and coherent enough to describe what he'd seen. According to what he later told police, their car had been passing a petrol station when a motorcycle approached from behind. 2 men were riding it, both estimated to be somewhere between 30 and 35 years old. As the motorcycle pulled alongside the car, the man riding on the back opened fire into the vehicle. Ayesha was shot in the neck. The car went out of control and hit the dumper truck. The 2 men on the motorcycle fled the scene. Naimatullah told investigators he believed he could identify both men if he saw them again. Police didn't rely on his account alone. Investigators started pulling CCTV footage from the area to see whether the attack he described actually happened the way he said. Some of the footage they recovered did show 2 men on a motorcycle, both wearing helmets, riding a bike with no visible license plate. What was on camera lined up with what Naimatullah had described. But there was one more detail that would later turn out to matter a great deal. After Ayesha's death, and after police had already opened an investigation into the shooting, Her father, Fazal Sahibzada, was registered as the case's complainant, the person who formally files the report and gives the initial statement to police, and what he told them went well beyond two men on a motorcycle. Fazal gave police several specific names. The first was a man called Kashif, known as Kashi. According to Fazal, it was Kashif who had called Ayesha just before she left the house that afternoon, and that call, he said, was what sent her out the door. But Kashif wasn't the only name Fazal handed over. He also named two other men, Kausar and Javed, who went by Shaheen. Fazal's stated reason came down to money. He told police Ayesha had ongoing financial dealings with the two men, and that she had been pressing them to repay a debt. As she kept pushing for the money, he said, she'd started receiving threats. The family said Ayesha had already filed a complaint in Islamabad over the same dispute before her death. Fazal went further. In his statement, he told police he believed Kausar and Javed may have carried out the attack themselves, or arranged for the two unidentified motorcycle gunmen to do it. He said he also suspected Kashif, the man who had made that final phone call, may have been involved. So within days of Ayesha's death, police appeared to have a fairly complete narrative already handed to them: an unpaid debt, prior threats, a phone call that pulled her out of the house, 3 named suspects, and 2 gunmen on a motorcycle. Based on Fazal's complaint, police formally registered a criminal case covering murder, attempted murder, abetment, and conspiracy. Rawalpindi Police put together an investigation team and began working the case from multiple angles. Starting naturally with the names Fazal had provided, the search widened quickly. Investigators moved through Taxila, Attock, and parts of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, picking up people with reported ties to the initial suspects for questioning. At the same time, investigators were digging into that phone call, who made it, where it came from, and whether there had been further contact between the people involved afterward. They pulled phone records, location data, and more CCTV. By August 19th, 5 days after Ayesha's death, police had detained 3 close relatives of the men Fazal had named, pulled in from Taxila, Attock, and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, suspected of helping those main suspects. Investigators were trying to determine whether these 3 had provided hideouts, information, transport, or other support. At that stage of the investigation, police still believed the main suspects Fazal had named were at large. Meanwhile, Ayesha's brother Naimatullah had gone public, calling on Punjab Chief Minister Maryam Nawaz Sharif to personally step in and push the investigation forward. But as the case moved ahead, something stopped adding up. Police weren't only chasing the names Fazal had given them. In parallel, a separate process was running the entire time: verification. Investigators kept pulling more CCTV, not 1 camera, not 10. They worked the surrounding routes camera by camera, looking for anything new. Eventually, according to what Rawalpindi Police later disclosed, investigators had reviewed footage from more than 100 CCTV cameras. Alongside that, they were cross-checking technical evidence and human intelligence against the entire timeline of the case. And the original story started to break down. It didn't account for everything the evidence was showing. Police haven't publicly said exactly which piece of technical evidence first triggered the doubt, but SSP Operations Tariq Mehboob later confirmed it was technical evidence that pushed investigators to start questioning the direction the case had taken. So they made a decision: widen the investigation. Police started re-examining the people closest to Ayesha, rechecking their statements, rechecking their movements before and after the shooting, and asking a question nobody had thought to ask at the start. Had the person who told them who to investigate told them everything? The investigation turned back toward Ayesha's own family. One name that came up was her other brother, Bashir. But the second name was far more unexpected: Fazal Sahibzada, Ayesha's father, the same man who had filed the original complaint, the same man who had told police his daughter had been threatened, the same man who had handed investigators the names Kashif, Kausar, and Javed. Now police were investigating Fazal himself. Fazal and Bashir were brought in for questioning. According to police, both men made statements implicating themselves in planning the attack. These are police claims. They have not yet been tested at a full criminal trial. But for investigators, the direction of the case had completely changed. Then, on August 22, 2026, just 8 days after Ayesha's death, Rawalpindi Police announced a major break in the case. 5 people had been arrested: Ayesha's father, Fazal, her brother, Bashir, a cousin, Ehsan, a relative named Rosie Khan, and another relative, Yasin. 8 days earlier, Fazal had been the man handing police a list of suspects. What police revealed next made the case even more complicated, because according to investigators, August 14th may not have even been the first attempt on Ayesha's life. According to preliminary findings released by police, the suspects had allegedly planned an earlier attempt before the one on August 14. The target was still Ayesha. Police say she had been preparing to travel to Haripur for a wedding, and that the suspects had allegedly planned to attack her during that trip. But the plan didn't unfold as intended. Ayesha changed her route, and the alleged attempt never happened. Police haven't disclosed the specifics of that earlier plan, but if their current findings hold up, it would mean the shooting on August 14th wasn't a decision made in the moment. Someone may have been planning to kill Ayesha for a while, which raises the obvious question: why would a 28-year-old content creator become a target in the first place? Police now believe the original story, the unpaid debt, the financial dispute, may not have been the real motive behind Ayesha's death at all. According to Rawalpindi Police's preliminary investigation, the real conflict may have come from inside her own family, and at the center of it was Ayesha's own online life. The TikTok videos, the live streams, the short clips, and the following of over 1 million people that came with all of it. Police say some of Ayesha's relatives strongly disapproved of her TikTok activity and her broader presence on social media. Because of that, police are currently describing the possible motive as what's classified as an honor killing. Under the current allegations, police say Ayesha's father Fazal, her brother Bashir, and the other people arrested allegedly worked together to plan the attack. Police also say the 2 men accused of carrying out the actual shooting are now in custody. But the most unusual part of this case may not be that a father became a suspect. It's how police now say they understand what he did right after his daughter died, filing that original complaint. The person who gave police the original story is now, according to police, accused of building it. Investigators allege someone deliberately constructed a false version of events to redirect the investigation toward other people, and away from those actually responsible. Under the theory police are currently working with, Fazal becoming the complainant may itself have been part of that alleged effort to mislead the investigation. If that theory holds, then everything that looked like the strongest evidence at the start of this case, the unpaid debt, the dispute, the prior threats, the 3 named suspects, even the phone call that pulled Ayesha out of her house, has to be looked at all over again. There are still major questions with no public answer. What role does Kashif actually play in the case under this new theory? What connection did the people Fazal originally named actually have to what happened? Who contacted the 2 alleged shooters? Did anyone pay them? And if so, who? Police haven't released the full alleged chain of the conspiracy. Investigators say they're still working to establish each suspect's specific role and continuing to build the case before it goes to court. As it stands, police describe this as a possible honor killing allegedly carried out with the involvement of Ayesha's father, brother, and other relatives. But all of this remains at the investigation stage. There has been no full criminal trial. No court has issued a final conviction against anyone named in this case. After Ayesha's death, her family closed her TikTok account. The account she'd spent 3 to 4 years building, over 1 million followers, tens of millions of likes, was gone. But the case itself isn't closed. The man who told the world his daughter was dead became the lead suspect in her death. A father who said he wanted justice for her may be the one who took her life. In 3 or 4 years, Ayesha Gilamana went from an unknown girl in Taxila to a face recognized by 1.3 million people. And the same fame that made her visible to the world may be exactly what made the people closest to her decide she shouldn't be visible at all. 5 relatives remain in police custody as the investigation continues. Formal charges and the next stage of the legal process are still ahead. Nothing has been decided. The case remains open.